Political parties, social and religious groups, and representatives of the security forces gathered on Friday to chart the new phase of Burkina Faso's future after the country's latest coup. The forum in the capital, Ouagadougou, will take place 2 weeks after the terrorist-turned Sahel state was rocked by its second military takeover in less than 9 months. In September, thousands of mourners gathered at Burkina Faso's capital at the funeral of 27 soldiers killed in an ambush that triggered the country's second coup this year, led by a military unit fed up with the rampant insecurity. Now, joining us on the news is Rodrigue Koné, a researcher with the Institute of Security Studies. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, so let's start off with what we are seeing, that Burkina Faso in 2017 legalized self-defense groups. In 2020, formed the Cobra unit dedicated to combating terrorist groups, a national strategy which is believed to prevent violent extremism was also put in place, and with all this, the attacks kept on happening. What do you actually think was lacking?
Yes, yes, indeed. This legalized self-defense group, it was in 2020, but it was in 2017 that there was this big forum inviting the Burkinabe state to reform its sector security. And so in 2020, so yes, of course, these measures have been adopted. But the big problem about this is while the strategy recommended a more comprehensive approach, integrating several measures of action, there was only a focus on military measure. It's only military measures that have been put in place. For a strategy to be effective and specifically a counter-terrorism strategy to be efficient, this strategy must integrate military solution, but also political and development action. The prevention strategy has only been partially implemented in the case of Burkina Faso. And secondly, the effectiveness of military actions was limited by poor governance inside the military apparatus itself. The recent coup, we have witnessed division inside the army. There was rival camps. That was really, I can say, the problems showing that the security apparatus was not really built to face to this level of insecurity. And finally, I can say that armed terrorist groups have long been present in the Burkinabe territory since 2015. They have managed to compensate for the absence of the state, and they are well organized, resilient, and more enterprising. That's why I think this strategy is not working.
All right, still in the same vein, of course. In Jibo, the Sahel region, violent extremists imposed a 7-month blockade and carried out attacks also. What did the military do about this, and why did the attacks last as long as 7 months, with all the security measures still put in place?
To better understand what is happening in Jibo, we must come back to the history. Jibo is the first town where the jihadist insurrection broke down in Burkina Faso. And at that moment, the Burkina Faso state did not really take seriously the first sign of this first attacks. The threat were mainly seen as an external coming from Mali, and it took too long time to recognize that there were problems inside Burkina and in Jibo specifically, where there were, I can say, resentment, grief against the government. And now the measure, when the government react, they react with very heavy hands, with military action that creates, I can say, human rights violation, and killing of civilians. So this laid the ground of the enrooting of those terrorist groups. And now it's very difficult to fight against them because they are inserted in the community.
All right. I just want to ask a follow-up to that too. Now, it's a popular saying that when there is a chaos, some people actually do benefit. Now, do you think with what is happening around, do you think anyone is actually benefiting from the violence? And if at all, what kind of benefit could that be?
Yes, of course. There is an economy of violence in that situation, and that is very presentable. So we have to recall that also those regions are being under a kind of criminal trans-border criminality economy, and now the jihadist group are benefiting also from this traffic. They finance themselves through various forms of trafficking fuel, which come from Nigeria via Togo and Benin. And you have also the management of artisanal gold mines in the region. So there is this economy of violence, which is not only with who the terrorist group are not the only who are benefiting. We were talking about these self-defense groups put in place. In some places in Burkina Faso, we also see that they are involved in those trafficking. So this economy of violence feeds the conflict and I can say, maintain what is happening on the ground.
All right, we have seen violence erupt in other countries like Ethiopia and Afghanistan. Is the African Union and the United Nations doing enough for African countries? And what can be done differently?
Yes, I think this issue, in fact, when we see really how it's raised and how it's going on, now I think African institutions should manage to be at the first to take the leadership of the fight against this insecurity, which is a first threatening for the economy, the security. So we should be at the first stage. What we have witnessed since then is that it was the European countries who were at the leadership of the fight against jihadist group in Africa. And unfortunately, all the capacity, military capacities, and also political, and I can say even community capacities were underused. ECOWAS was one on the first military actor present in Mali when this jihadist insurrection broken in Mali. ECOWAS came, mobilized some troops from countries, but after they were thrown down, it was only the French we take the leadership policy. Now, African institutions should be at the first level, put money in the basket for financing the military action, also invest in political action in trying to negotiate also with some groups, because when you see the reason why those groups are taking advantage, it's the lack of governance, and there is the possibility for the state to rebuild this governance through political action and also reinforce the military capacities. So African institutions, on my view, have to be at the first seat drive. They must be at the seat drive of this fighting against.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you for your time, Rodrigue Koné.
Thank you.